Hey, and welcome back to another episode of Planet Coaster in the Alpha 3. We will be trying to work on some of the interior now of our actual park. We're moving on from the entrance that we built last episode. The Renaissance theme, I think, is going to end up doing really well over time. It's going to be definitely a little bit different, especially since we're using a lot of this dirt path kind of texturing rather than the normal pathing. But hopefully with the new terrain kind of painting tools, we might be able to throw in some more depth where we normally wouldn't see it. But this episode, we are going to work on some shops. And Renaissance fairs are covered with shops. It is basically 90% shops, 5% food, and... oh, actually, no, that's a little bit wrong. It's probably more like 60% shops, 20% food, and, say, 20% games and rides. So it's a lot of walking around and just going into shops, buying fantasy stuff from swords, weaponry, hats, clothing, apparel, miscellaneous things. And so we're going to basically be aligning a lot of these pathways with these kind of Ren Fair-esque buildings. Now, Ren Fairs are a little campy. We're not trying to build very historically accurate structures here. We're trying to build, you know, kind of with the fairy tale theme set, a set of buildings that kind of function and work in a park setting. So don't look for probably the coolest looking buildings in the world here, though they do look pretty nice. You know, if you want something really cool looking, you know, wait for when we might do a fantasy theme park over this. This is going to be pretty just straightforward cottages with wooden trims, plasters of different colors and sorts, and a bunch of little juts and layers that come out of the wall and interact with the path a little bit, because that is a lot of the Renaissance Fair. Pretty much everything is a path except for woodland areas where they can't really construct on. I do want to eventually work in some sort of terrain use here, but this first layer that we're working on is going to be all one height, and then we might step down into a lower layer of a park and then maybe add additional wings. It's going to be just full of shops, full of flat rides, and then maybe a coaster or two depending. I know that's not really part of the kind of Renaissance experience, but this is Planet Coaster. So it's not Planet Theme Park, Planet Renaissance Fair, it's Planet Coaster. So we do need to have a coaster somewhere eventually. I just don't know where yet or anything like that. A lot of cool little things to go through on these buildings. You know, from putting little flower elements beneath the windows. I'm really happy with all these decorative pieces that we have now in Planet Coaster. Just the amount of effort it takes to build kind of detailed structures is far less. And then also, because we're using less pieces that are interfering with the wall itself, we can get away with having a little bit more interior space. I do enjoy, as I said, I think in previous videos, that I enjoy having shops that actually function. Like if I'm going to make a main street, I want people going inside those buildings. I want people to go in and out of those stores, make it look like it's believable and functioning as a management game. Because when it comes down to it, this is still a simulation game. I do enjoy being, you know, creative and things like that, but I still want it to be functional. Functional aesthetically is super important to me. We're adding a little tower on here just to give it some height on one side to balance out the left side, since we have kind of a larger roof section there. And you want to try and balance these elements here and also try and pick colors that go together. You'll see the next building that we build is it's a little bit harder for me to do and choose colors that I like. You know, this is pretty standard colors. This kind of yellowy plaster with wooden trim, very fairy tale-esque. And it's just kind of a basic test here. Again, we're going to get better as we go through our Alpha 3 experience, get used to some of the new pieces, come up with more interesting ways to use them, such as here where we're grabbing some of the new pillar bases and using them as these kind of curled out roof sections that hold up the additional roof space. There's some new lanterns, some hanging plants, things to actually bring in a lot of greenery into the structures as well, which I really like. Change the color of the roof on the tower just to break it up from the redness, and also add a little cart. Don't quite know what to put in that area just yet, but Renaissance fairs, it's just constant stuff going on. There's not even many garden spaces, so you guys won't see as many as that, but you'll see some foresty areas, hopefully in the long run. Some more wooden trim just to break up the surface of the structure and to try and cover up some of the Z fighting that goes on when you're merging, floor tiles with wall tiles and things like that. But these are enterable. Gonna add some trash bins as well for later when we start adding some food sections and things. Laying down some more dirt path. Don't really know how I want to decorate around this first flat ride. This is really just here to get some more people into the park to so we can start balancing things and get it working. At the entryway, throw in some benches. I was thinking about maybe trying to test out this kind of flag-esque decoration in that corner, but it's just one of those things where we just will add to it over time. Throwing in some trees because there are trees in the park, fairly common element. And then we will start working on kind of lining up this outer wall the best we can. Moving some things over from a distance, it's okay because there's going to be a lot of trees interacting with this thing, as it's just supposed to be set in the middle of this forest, and we'll have a lot of the new tree elements in there, and even widening the path to make it look a little bit more well traveled. Now, Renaissance fairs don't really have these heavily marked paths. It's just thrown straw everywhere, or mulch, or dirt, stone. They just kind of just allow you to walk anywhere that you can to get around. This structure here, this is actually one of the first colored structure that we're gonna do. And it gave me a little bit of trouble just because the colors are so a little out there. They're almost like a beach teal color that you would find on like along beach resorts and stuff. But Renaissance fairs to me always are very colorful. They have quite the ridiculous color palette at times, and so I do want to capture that a little bit. And then because of it's so striking that it gave me a little bit of trouble in terms of what I want to do with this building. So I came up with maybe getting it to overhang the path even more than the previous one, with these new kind of octagonal tower pieces that you normally use for like a large, almost like castle tower, but I'm going to be using them for balcony supports because balconies obviously need some heavy supports, especially for one that wide. And we'll just add some stone elements around to keep it supported. Trying to add some roof, I guess, window peaks up there just to try and break up the surface. Didn't like how tall those were, so we're just gonna have to settle with one kind of wider section that's not as tall. The elements that we're using here, just trying to bring in some trim and seal up the back. You can see this is quite the different structure in the sense that it is just a single angled slope roof on the upper area, and then a flat section on the back, because obviously no one's going to be going back there, so there's no sense to really finish the building and making it look perfect anyways. We're going to be using these chimneys as columns. I like the way they look. They look very kind of thrown together and rustic, so I color them brown so they kind of simulate a wooden, almost like effect. And then we are changing out the stucco with some brick here just to bring in another darker color to separate it from the wooden trim going around the balcony area. We'll throw on a little door here, just changing the colors around. I'm not great with colors. I mean, shoot, even when I did a lot of painting, my colors always felt off. So, forgive me if it's a little odd looking at times, but I think it's gonna work for us in the long run. Now, I needed something to fit in here, and I was a little tired of building hat stalls because the other building has 2 of them. This one just has the first aid booth. Now, I don't really know what that's used for so much in Planet Coaster, but I did like the fact that it has a kind of a nice blue entryway into the structure that matched the first floor, so I figured that would be something to look forward to. Some wall sconces here to provide light at nighttime. A lot of stuff to look forward to in terms of total decoration and little nooks and cranny filling that we can do. A giant kind of scroll wall sign here just hanging over the street, which looks pretty cool on its own, so added that little detail in there. Adding some roof trim on this upper area by combining two elements, a light kind of white stucco element and then a dark wooden element, just to kind of make it pop out a little bit more. Didn't like the giant windows on the front. I thought they were maybe a little too distracting, so I went back in and put some more wooden frames just to cover up some of that blue. That blue is very striking, and it can be a little distracting. Throw in some overhang supports on the roof, and then some smaller windows just to kind of seal that area off. And then as an afterthought, you know, we'll put some wooden trim on the left and right sides of the building just for some nice kind of effect. With Renaissance parks, everything almost feels like an afterthought. It's like they built a building, they didn't know what it was for yet, they just kind of built it, and then they decorated it based on who gets to rent it out that year. I think that's a very interesting kind of method to have in your head of, well, we need a building, build the building, followed by, now what the building is for, decorate it. And you kind of get this clash of material, which is pretty fun to do, though I'm sure some people might not enjoy that kind of build style. So yeah, we're just going to add some roof trim on the sides. Again, don't need to do that on the back because that's going to be blocked by trees and the exterior wall anyways. And even using some of these upside down supports for the roof trim, just to make that kind of merge into the sides of the walls a little bit better. I think that's kind of a cool effect to do. Throwing in a whole bunch of the new trees to give us some more verticality, but in color, right behind the roof line. You don't want it too much taller than the roof line, but just enough to where you can see it from a distance and you can still see the buildings. So I think that's going to do us for the speed build section of these two buildings. I do add just a little bit more off camera, but we can go over that in the real-time part. And so at this point, I'll go ahead and toss it over to, I guess, real-time me and showcase what all we have done. Here we are. Welcome to the Renaissance Fair and our first couple shops. So you can see we have a few elements kind of sticking through the roof, but from down here, they're not really noticeable. It just kind of looks like it's part of the chimney. We're just following the princess here as she walks through her land, and I do want to decorate the interiors here. So before they get uploaded to the Steam Workshop, I'm going to be doing that kind of here and there in between episodes or when I can. But I will upload these, and when they are uploaded, I'll let you guys know either on Twitter or on the next episode when they become available. And of course, I'll provide links in the description down below. But this is kind of the first row of shops. As we said, there's going to be a whole bunch of these just lining the path everywhere. And they are accessible, though the peeps do kind of sink into the ground just a little bit. And so far, I'm really happy with the way they look. Here's this entertaining a whole bunch of guests. That's really nice. I kind of wish there was a mod to theme your park, and maybe if it was a Renaissance Fair park, all the guests might show up, maybe dressed up in Renaissance outfits. I think that would be pretty cool to see if someone can turn that into a mod. Yeah, added some tents in this area, a little bit of an archery kind of target just for some decoration. We got some more kind of miscellaneous barrels and things just kind of scattered about the two tents that we recolored that are a little bit different than the exterior side. And so you can see just from right here, it looks pretty much like a Renaissance Fair park. We just need more buildings, more kind of shrubs and things kind of growing up along the sides, and just more little knickknacks just thrown about to make the whole thing look really busy, really lived in, and really kind of cluttery. I guess that's the best word I could think of. Now, the nice thing about that tower is that we have a kind of a nice little view line of it just outside the gate here, so that as we get more and more buildings, you can see part of them kind of peeking up over the walls, but not taller than the main gate. The main gate's kind of your signal as to, say you're down here on the street, and you don't know how to get out of the park, you can look for those towers from a distance and know kind of where the exit is. So I think that's kind of something to shoot for. Now I might try and add some more little stalls here and there. You guys can let me know how you might want this thing to be decorated. I added a little side path here. I can even put more shops. I kind of want our first maybe restaurant type area in this little V-shaped section, just to give us kind of some loose items to fill the area. You know, instead of relying on this oddly shaped building, we can build a tavern section kind of straight across here and fill that in. But you guys can let me know that down below. You can also let me know if you enjoyed the episode by leaving a thumbs up. Go ahead and subscribe if you're new. Leave a comment down below on what you guys think. And until then, I think that's going to do us for Planet Coaster. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.